What's up, everybody? Here is a game changer for anyone dealing with a wonky elbow. So elbows can be pretty tricky. They can definitely stay around for a longer time. And part of the issue with the elbow is dealing with everything that's not the elbow. So we've made a ton of content about that before, and we covered in depth in our Personal Trainer Academy. So we're not gonna really go into that. We're gonna do more specific local strategies for the elbow. But just to make sure everybody's got the big picture. You definitely want to check the rib cage. Make sure you're getting your ribs moving. Make sure you're getting air to pump and expand certain areas of the rib cage. In general, if you're having pain on the inside of your elbow, I would probably check expansion on the front side. So making sure that your chest can expand well. If you're having pain on the outside of the elbow, I would probably check your external rotation of your shoulder and whether your back ribs can expand. So same thing, just like I said, definitely check the shoulder in terms of rotation there, whether it can IR and ER. And then also, like anything that you're having trouble with, take away the things that don't feel good. So take a break from those things. So like a lot of people with these issues are doing a lot of pull-ups and they feel like crap when they do them, but they just keep doing them. Or they don't have the ability to go overhead, but they have shoulder press twice a week in the program. They have handstands, they have whatever it might be. So really make sure that you're kind of decreasing anything that's taking you a step back, okay? The next thing that we want to really consider is the idea that, you know, it could be a connective tissue thing, which is really think about like tendons, ligaments, any of those things. Basically, using isometric protocols is what we're going to go over so that we can really load the tendon, load that deep stuff in the elbow. And we want to do that in a bunch of different ways, but especially specific angles and rotational elements. So that's exactly what we're going to go over with the band. You're going to just need the band. You could use a cable, you could use anything to do it, but I'm going to basically show you a couple of different setups. What you want to think about is what can you not do? So for example, if you look at your elbow and say like, can I pronate? Can I supinate? What you'll see often when people pronate is they'll do a lot of stuff from the wrist. So you'll see that I'm trying to cheat through my wrist. I'm trying to cheat through my shoulder. What we want to see is that this X is able to flip over itself and then flip back. Okay? And we don't want to see any deviation there. Think about these two bones right here, and we want them to be able to flip over each other smoothly, okay? So that's the first thing. Obvious things like full elbow extension would be great. Full elbow flexion would also be great. And then lastly, even though we didn't talk about it up front, but sometimes elbow issues are really just wrist issues. So even just opening up flexion and extension of the wrist, that's another thing that's in the Personal Trainer Academy. Just go to the wrist section, you'll see it. Okay, so let's get into the first one. All right, so like we just said, you know, getting into different positions that you struggle with and then getting 5 to 10 degrees outside of them. So this hurts, I'm gonna start doing isometrics here. This hurts, so I'm gonna start doing isometrics here or here, wherever you can get to pain-free or very low levels of pain, and then build up the tolerance there. And what we're also doing in all these positions is putting ourselves in a position where things should be loaded, specifically the tricep and the bicep and the rotational components of the forearm, and then being able to sense them and use them. We're spending time under tension to get them really strong. The band is a great starting point, but the cables work, all that stuff works. And the idea would be to make something so that it eventually gets to 3 to 5 sets of 45 seconds. That's a good general tendon rule or isometric loading rule. And getting those things to be super strong so that you're not able to do 65, 70 seconds. You might be able to do 60, but it's closer to 55, 50, and we're taking it to that 45 mark. So the first one I really like is like this little crossbody right here. So the band is pulling and loading my tricep into a bend. I can mess around with where I am and see how much of a stretch or load I feel in the tricep there. And then I would just go and fight the band a little bit more. And I would just hold here for 45 seconds. Notice that I have everything IR'd. So this is pronated, this is IR'd, and my shoulders flexed around 90 degrees. So I'm gonna feel a nice load through the back side of the elbow there, and I'm gonna hold. Okay, so there's 45 seconds there. Then what I can do is I can turn around and I can think about almost coming out and across my body. So now I'm closer to the extension arm, right? And then from here, I can do 45 seconds. I can also start to add a little bit of rotation through the elbow itself while maintaining the shoulder in its position. So maybe I want to go ahead and get that part of the tricep, but also get that part of the forearm and have them co-contract together and hold that. And you'll see some weaknesses get highlighted very quickly there. The other one that I really love is that similar crossbody, but instead of being in flexion, being down here a little bit lower. This one works a little bit better with the cable, but I can come down to here and I can just hold that right there. I can even hinge a little bit and let that reach out and then hold that down. I can hold in the mid-range. I can have it pull me all the way up and make it even harder and then pull from there. Or again, I could work specifically closer to where the elbow's straightening. Again, targeting where you're struggling with the most. So I really like those. Think here, think here, think here. Those all make a lot of sense for IR. Then for a little bit more of ER, or even just thinking about even opening up a different line of tension, I can come to here. So now I'm like this. If you're someone who injured or feels pain during a skull crusher, hopefully it makes so much sense why you would be here, right? And then we can hold for 45 seconds. What else can we do? Same thing we just talked about. We can start to drive that rotation at the elbow as the tricep has to isometrically hold me in this position and fight the band. The further away I go, the harder it gets. So I can kind of die here, and then I can get a little bit closer. We can do kind of like a continuous tension kind of thing if you're familiar with any of the FRS stuff and doing that vibe. So those are really great options there, getting all the way overhead. And again, don't sleep on just getting there and just holding. The other thing that we can go overhead a little bit more for ER, so what I mean by that is see how my palm's facing down. Now my palm is facing up, shoulder's nice and open, and I'm externally rotated at the shoulder, and now I can go ahead and pull away. So now I'm doing the same isometric, the band's pulling me this way, and I can feel a nice different spot, but really good contraction through the tricep and hold that. And then again, I could even ER here even further. And you can see, I don't know if it's because I did so many sets in a row, but that one is getting smoked. That one's pretty hard. I got a nice little jump there. So that's a good option for you there. I like that. And then in terms of strength training, if you're familiar with our stuff, you would go and eventually just get back to doing a katana tricep exercise, which is gonna load that through the full range of motion. So it easily progresses into the strength exercise. So those would all be really nice. Now, same exact thing for biceps. Remember, all the drills I just did, you could change angles just by lowering the band. So that's gonna change the direction of the force. And then for the bicep, we probably wanna start with it a little bit lower. It just makes a lot of sense. Maybe I wanna train more at length here and have it come here. And now I'm holding this. For anyone that has any issues with the front of the elbow and the bicep or any of that stuff, that makes a lot of sense. Opens up the shoulder as well. From there, I can go ahead and drive rotation through that spot, whether I want to keep it everywhere or I want to just get it to come from the elbow and have the shoulder isometrically hold. And then the other thing that I can do is I can come up into here. I can work on the shortened range, so I can pull it all the way up, and then I can hold there. So I'm isometrically working on that bicep contracting. This is a good example of what I talked about when I talked about the idea of you want to work on the sensation, driving effort, driving sensation to the right tissue. If you do this with the band and let go and you don't feel your bicep, something's going wrong. And then what's the solution? You could probably just stay there and it will work for you. So I can get further away and hold, further away and hold until it's too hard and I start to lose a little bit. I can also work on just getting that rotation from here, driving the rotation. I can slowly die throughout the whole entire range, driving the rotation. And then I could also even just have this longer form of just holding like that and then being able to drive that isometric force through there. So there's like 700 options for you to work on that. Again, don't get confused by the options. Maybe pick 1 to 3 of them that really feel good, that feel challenging, and they're right outside of your spot that feels wonky. Try to integrate the elbow rotation with the isometrics and think about, hey, well, this is where I'm feeling that limitation. Let me go up to that, knock on the door of the limitation, get strong there, especially in the opposite direction first, and then try to get a little bit further and see if you can maintain positioning there. The band is great, but cables work really well too. If you have any questions about that, please let us know. And remember, there's a whole entire elbow section on PTA, follow along classes, wrist, elbow, shoulder, everything. And like we said before, all of those big things that we didn't have time to address in this video are covered in so much detail on there. There's a free trial in the text below. So just click on it, start today, and if you have any questions, reach out.